It all started back in 2014. Marcus was still in junior high, grade 8 to be precise, enjoying his youthful age. One sunny routine afternoon during break, in the corners of his school canteen, gathered a group of boys aged 13 to 14 years. From afar, they looked like they were just enjoying each other's company. But for the boys, it was a routine meetup where they share and watch the most explicit contents on the net. Most phones back then had a keypad, which Marcus was using a BlackBerry. Every single school day, the group of boys would always gather during lunch, scraping the net for these explicit contents. Every time they watched, it was like their eyes were filled with the blue, dazzling screen of a phone. They wanted more. For Marcus, it seemed like he was doing the bare minimum and wanted to take it up a notch as the burning urge was building. He started watching it during class hours, from seating in the first 2-row seats to seating at the back of the class. Marcus would sneak his BlackBerry under his desk, pretending to text or check something trivial. But behind the guise of innocence, he was immersing himself deeper into the world of explicit content. The thrill of watching in forbidden places heightened his obsession, feeding a hunger he couldn't control. By the time he became a senior, the addiction had taken root in his daily life. Marcus became withdrawn from life activities, spending less time with friends and more time alone in his room. His grades began to slip. His relationships with his parents suffered. He became socially awkward when having conversations with girls because his brain has been corrupted. The only way he communicates with girls is through staring, like he always does with his online explicit figures. All these secrecy consumed him, building walls around his life that kept everyone else out. Fast forward 5 years later, it was now time for college. College didn't bring relief, it only intensified the problem. With unlimited internet access and privacy, Marcus found himself spiraling. His addiction became a crutch for stress, loneliness, and every emotional void he felt. The once occasional habit had now become a necessity, something he relied on to get through each day. Marcus's life was a shadow of what it could have been. The addiction that had started innocently enough during junior high had taken full control of him by the time he entered college. He was isolated, haunted by a constant sense of guilt and shame. His relationships with family and friends were strained, and his grades were plummeting. The world outside his dorm room seemed distant and unreachable as he continued to retreat further into the darkness of his addiction. One evening, after a particularly rough day where Marcus had missed a crucial exam due to oversleeping after a late-night explicit binge, he found himself wandering aimlessly around campus. His feet led him to a small chapel at the edge of the university grounds. Inside, a group of students were gathered, engaged in what seemed like a youth group meeting. Marcus hovered at the door, unsure why he had come or what he hoped to find. It was then that he met a youth pastor, David, a young, approachable man in his early 30s with an easy smile and kind eyes. David noticed Marcus lingering at the entrance and invited him in, offering a cup of coffee and a listening ear. They sat down at a small table in the corner, away from the others. The youth pastor kick-started the conversation, saying,
"I've seen you around campus, Marcus. You seem like you're carrying a heavy burden. You don't have to face it alone, you know."
Something about the pastor's gentle tone and the genuine concern in his eyes made Marcus open up. He found himself confessing everything: the years of addiction, the shame, the isolation, and the deep fear that he would never be able to break free. Marcus then began talking, saying,
"I'm lost, Pastor David. I don't know who I am anymore. This thing has taken over my life."
Pastor David paused, then proceeded to say,
Addiction is a powerful thing, Marcus, but it doesn't define you. You're more than this struggle. The first step is acknowledging that you need help, and you've done that. You're not alone in this. With support and faith, you can reclaim your life.
After the conversation, David introduced Marcus to a support group within the church, where others were fighting similar battles. He also offered to meet with Marcus regularly for one-on-one counseling sessions. Through these meetings, Marcus began to rebuild his life piece by piece. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks and moments of doubt. But with Pastor David's guidance and the support of the group, Marcus started to find strength he didn't know he had. Slowly, Marcus began to reconnect with his family, apologize to his parents for the years of distance, and work to mend the relationships he had neglected. He started engaging more with his studies, rediscovering the joy of learning without the constant pull of his addiction. By the time Marcus graduated, he was a different person. The darkness that once consumed him had been replaced with hope and a newfound sense of purpose. He knew the battle wasn't entirely over, but he also knew he wasn't fighting it alone. With the support of David, his new friends, and his own determination, Marcus was finally free to live the life he was always meant to live.